And it was a really old house, had an old heating system in it. We're down there in the dark, just sitting there asking our questions, and the furnace kicks on, and it sounded like Freddy Krueger running his claws down some pipes.
Oh, no.
It was pitch dark, but I could tell Brandy was looking at me, and I was looking at her, and I was just like, we're going to die.
Freddy Krueger's coming.
Oh, that's funny.
One, two, Freddy's coming for you.
Done.
Now, why would somebody contact you? They're hearing things, they're seeing things. I mean, what is the top reasons why people get in touch?
I think part of it, they see something, and they want to make sure they're not crazy. It's not a figment of their imagination. We're here to try to prove then, yeah, you're seeing stuff.
But some people, they don't want to allow us in because they don't want to seem crazy to other people.
I can understand that. My grandmother, her house was built in 1724. Her house was very haunted. And my mother, she could spot things. She said
She was definitely a sensitive.
she had to turn it off because she saw too much at times. She had to fight against.
She called it a curse, not a gift.
She did not appreciate the fact that she could see some of the things she saw.
I think it's a generational thing, too. The younger generation are more open to it, where the older generation, no, I don't want people knowing about this. What would people think?
I think it's less so now than it used to be because people are more open about so many things now.
Well, I think before people would make fun of you or call you crazy.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
After we did the Fort Howard thing, Vicky, who was our sensitive, and actually her husband made her stop because she felt like she brought some stuff home with her and it really affected her. She had stopped doing any of the investigations with us, and we haven't had anybody really like her. Susan's a little sensitive, but Vicky was beyond what I've ever known anyone to be before. We would meet at Fullerton, and we'd be in there just for our group meeting, having a few drinks. But she always brought a pad of paper and stuff. She'd write things down all the time wherever she went. Spirits were telling her to go up to people at the bar, and she had a woman in tears over the things that apparently her mom, who had passed, was telling Vicky to tell this woman.
Oh, wow.
And this woman was in tears, and then she approached a man at the bar another night who, it was about his wife who had passed. She was phenomenal.
There was that one time when we were at the bar and she went up to the woman and said, her mom just died?
Yeah. Well,
like,
she said
died
to
like
her
2 minutes before she told her.
Yeah, well, she told her.
Oh, my goodness.
Was it that? Yeah, but there was another woman. She was telling her, there's this woman, and she's like, her name begins with a B, but I can't understand what she's saying. And she said, but she wanted me to tell you that she's proud of you. She knows that things didn't end the way you wanted them to when she passed, but she wants you to know that she's proud of you, she loves you, and everything's going to be okay. And this woman was just in tears.
I don't know how I handled that.
Yeah, I don't either. My sister had a psychic come to her house once after my dad had passed. It's a very strange experience to have somebody telling you things that, how do you know that? Like, what?
What do you think about orbs?
I don't think anything of them, honestly. I don't. Steve, what do you think?
I think it comes down to the traveling of the orb. Like most orbs, you'll say they're like floating. 9 times out of 10, that's dust. But if you see an orb like go across and like zigzag, that could be a bug. But then there's the orb that has like a tail behind it.
Or colors.
Yeah, and has different colors. That, I believe, could be something.
I've just not seen one that I thought was anything ever before.
I got a good picture of the basement in Todd's inheritance. And there's it almost looks like a fireball of an orb. It's a bright, like I said, it looks like a flame. And as soon as I looked at my camera, I was like, wow. And I had to look up real quick to see if there was a light or something that reflective, and there was nothing there. You could see the tail behind it. You could tell it was moving. That was a really, really good picture of an orb.
Well, it's kind of like the electrical things. I think it was Mike and I And it was Rob and his son Brandon. I don't think you were with us that night, Steve, but it was at a house and they had the toys in the room. The mom said that the toys would just turn on out of nowhere. And it happened while we were there, and we had to have it on video, and it's on our website, video of this little toy truck. It starts moving out of the blue, like it just starts to go. And it was turned off. But
and had no batteries in it.
No, it did have batteries in it, but I said, let's take the batteries out. But I don't think it moved again after the batteries came out. But it moved several times, and we have it on audio. But I don't trust things like that because, like I said, if it's got a battery, yeah.
It was the remote didn't have the batteries.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it was the remote that didn't, but the car did. But it just, like, I don't trust stuff like that. It was creepy because we were doing an investigation and it happened, but I'm like, there's too many answers to why it could have happened, and I don't trust that it was anything like that was a ghost or anything like that. But
Now, we had the issue with American Girl dolls at one house.
Was that the one with the chinchillas?
No, this was Raven's room and
Oh, I wasn't at that one.
Oh, okay. So there's 2 American Girl dolls. There's 2 daughters. Each doll was in a separate room. So I'm running my EMF meter through there looking for any life. And the EMF meter goes off as soon as I go by the doll. So I'm like looking for electrical outlet, anything electrical at all. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing there, but this doll is setting this thing off.
They don't have batteries in American Girls. I knew that.
No. So I didn't think nothing about it. I set her down and I went into the other daughter's room and she had one. That doll did the same thing. I was like, okay, that's all right. Maybe it's where they're made or something. I don't know. So I grabbed the one doll and I took it into the room with the other doll. And all of a sudden, the EMF meter just went blank. It just went down. It was like, okay, so I'll separate them again. As soon as I separated them, it pegged back out. Yeah.
That's freaky.
They all wanted to be together. I think that was part of the problem because the daughters kept seeing stuff going down the hallways and hearing noises. I was like, either keep these dolls together or put them out back in the fire pit.
I'll tell you another thing that scared me, and we were all a little bit disturbed by it. You know, those radio boxes, Steve. What are they? I'm terrible with the names of these things.
The ghost box.
The ghost box. When we were at the house on Trap Road, and we were asking it questions, and we kept hearing the father's name and rape over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That freaked me out too.
With that ghost box, we were doing it earlier, and you heard the child say burn. You heard that a few times. So we told Mike to ask the guy about that, and apparently his kid died in a fire. And then we heard the rape part, and I looked at Beth. I was like, I don't think we need to ask this guy about this.
No.
Yeah. That's opening doors.
Yeah, that ghost box really disturbs me when we start using that because things get said, it pulls things like from radio waves and all. It's kind of not always pleasant, the things that it comes out with and says.
Yeah.
What is the other thing, Steve, that we keep saying we want to get that shows the figures?
Oh, it's made from an Xbox 360 scan.
Yeah. Shows the figures. When there is no figure there, but it shows a figure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's sort of like a grid, but you don't see the grid at all.
You just see a body moving, and sometimes it's not even a full body. A lot of times it is a full body, and it could be standing right next to one of us. But I would love to have one of those to see what that would be like.
It's like the Nintendo Wii, where if you're playing Wii bowling, it can see you move. Well, that's what this does, but it projects outward in front of you, and you have a little screen, a tablet or something. You just download the software for it, and you can see stuff.
Wow.
Well, Steve and Beth, we could talk to you all night. This is so fascinating. But before we go, please tell our listeners your website so they can learn more about you.
I know it's Mobtown Paranormal, right?
Yeah, Mobtown.paranormal.com. And you can find us on Facebook, and I am going to work on an Instagram.
Yeah, we need to do that too. We're horrible at that.
Well, we have really enjoyed talking to you, and we thank you for taking time from this evening to talk with us. Wish you all the luck with your group. And if I hear of anything, I know who I'm going to call.
Anything exciting happens, get in touch. We'll have you back on.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you so much. This was fun. Hopefully, I know that Steve and Mike told me that there's another book thing coming up.
It'll
I
be
don't
one
know
next
when.
year.
I think next year. So we'll definitely see you there.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely be at this one. I won't have coronavirus this next time.
Oh, goodness. Well, I hope you're on the mend.
Yes, I am. I'm good.
Okay.
But thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you.
All right,
Cool.
thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
talking to you.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was our interview with the Mobtown Paranormal investigators. They weren't related to a book, but most of our listeners have at least watched a video, a documentary, or read up on something to do with ghost hunters, and we thought that that would be a nice fit for our program. We are going to have more of the authors, people that were at Fright Ridge on a upcoming recap program. We will certainly have that come out in the next month. Be on the lookout for that. Trivia. Last week's question was, which mystery author personally investigated closed cases during his career? A. G.K. Chesterton, B. R. Austin Freeman, C. Wilkie Collins, or D. Arthur Conan Doyle? The answer is D. Arthur Conan Doyle. Doyle was a fervent advocate of justice and personally investigated at least 2 closed cases, which led to 2 men being exonerated of the crimes for which they were accused. The first case in 1906 involved a shy, half-British, half-Indian lawyer named George Edaji, who had allegedly penned threatening letters and mutilated animals in Great Wireley. Police were set on Edaji's conviction, even though the mutilations continued after their suspect was jailed. Apart from helping George Edaji, Doyle's work helped establish a way to correct other miscarriages of justice, as it was partially as a result of this case that the Court of Criminal Appeals was established in 1907. The second case, that of Oscar Slater, a Jew of German origin who had operated a gambling den and was convicted of bludgeoning an 82-year-old woman in Glasgow in 1908, excited Doyle's curiosity because of inconsistencies in the prosecutor's case and a general sense that Slater was not guilty. He ended up paying most of the costs of Slater's successful 1928 appeal. This week's question. Mystery author Robert Bruce Montgomery was more famous for writing what than his mystery novels? A. Music, B. Television, C. Poetry, or D. Romances? Good luck. That brings us to the end of another program. We thank you for listening. We will be back with our regular programming next week. And remember,
Life would be boring without a little mystery. Bye.